J.K. Dobbins for the Baltimore Ravens. I love this pick. It's amazing how besides DeAndre Swift, how many of these running backs landed in such a perfect situation. And you couldn't pick a better situation than the Baltimore Ravens for J.K. Dobbins. This is Matt's number 2 overall running back. Matt, tell the viewers why this is such a great pick to get him here. Again, he took him over Clyde Edwards. It's like we said, we're splitting hairs. We know which way he split his hairs. Tell us how you part the hairs, Matt.
I just use a comb most of the time, but on this particular instance, obviously I love the landing spot. You know, the Ravens, all they want to do is run the ball. And yes, obviously Mark Ingram is there, but that's going to be a very short-term thing. Mark Ingram's, I think, 30 now, and he's going to be 31, I think, coming up here by the end of the season. It's a very short-term thing where him and Mark Ingram are going to be splitting carries. We talked about it the other day on the podcast, and Garrett brought up the fact that, you know, the one knock about J.K. Dobbins was the fact that people were saying the sky is the limit for this guy, and that's why I kept him at number 2. It is totally splitting hairs between him and Jonathan Taylor, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to split the hairs, and I have J.K. Dobbins slightly ahead of him.
J.K. Dobbins is viable in the passing game, and you're right, Matt. Not only does he go to a team with the second highest graded offensive line per Pro Football Focus, but also the number 1 rushing team in the NFL. That is their identity. It will open up tons of things for J.K. Dobbins. Nick, what do you think of J.K. Dobbins here?
Yeah, he's my RB4. And there's some things I think that people don't talk about with this situation. Yeah, I agree. Lamar Jackson is a great runner. That can help open up holes. It helped with Ingram. It helped with Gus Edwards. We're not talking about him. I mean, he had quietly 700 yards, and he had that, I think, 2 years in a row, something close to that. They drafted Justice Hill. He's there as well. And they don't pass the ball a lot in Baltimore. I thought you wanted pass catchers, right? That was the big thing. And we look at Mark Ingram. He had 26 receptions last year on 29 targets. Justice Hill is a good pass catcher. They only had 440 attempts as a team last year. And I don't think that number is going to get huge, 550, 600, like some of these teams that get those huge 70, 80, 90 reception running backs. And with Dobbins' skill set, I don't know that he's going to be a guy that's going to pound it between the tackles for 250 carries. So he might be a guy that gets 150 carries, maybe 40 to 50 receptions. And is that really going to be a high-end RB1?
Garrett, what do you think?
So I get your concerns, but you know, Matt mentioned it. The fit with the Baltimore offense is incredible. We also have to factor in the efficiency of this offense. This is a very efficient offense. They are revolutionizing how you play offense in the NFL. And so to have a guy that you're going to be able to sit next to, a quarterback that's what is he, 24, 25?
22.
At best? What is he?
22.
Okay, so even younger.
22, maybe 23.
Okay, so he'll be 23 at the start of next season. So, you know, he's young, and he's already able to be that efficient. And teams are starting to realize – they're not starting to realize. They've realized it for a while that the way to stop Baltimore is to stop Lamar Jackson. So the more – and I remember even playing linebacker. You know, we have different keys and different things that we have to focus on, specifically in the option game. You're the type of guy that you change how you do some of that stuff and change what some of your keys are for Lamar Jackson. That's only going to make J.K. Dobbins' job even easier. So, yes, maybe he won't see – I think you're a little on the low side as far as number of touches. I do think he'll get closer to that 200 carries per season. He might not be the 300 carries that we see out of some of these other guys, but I think he's more in the 200 carries because he's going to get 12 or so a game. I think he's going to be uber efficient on those carries. We're looking at 5+ yards per carry type of guy.
So the 2018 Chiefs offense was better than the 2019 Chiefs offense, even though they won the Super Bowl, right? Mahomes was insane, 50 touchdowns, all that kind of stuff, right? Before that, it was the Rams. Before that, it was the Eagles. All these offenses get figured out.
Sure.
The Ravens offense in the playoffs has been sputtering. Same with the Texans. Do we think that the defensive coordinators aren't going to scheme their way, personnel their way into hindering this rushing offense? That's just a general question before we get into Dobbins.
For sure. They'll definitely improve on that. You know, you're right. That's happened with all of these teams, but we still saw that when the Chiefs offense is functioning the way it's supposed to, it's still killer and dynamic. I think that will still be the way with the Ravens offense as well. I think when it's functioning the way it's supposed to, especially during the regular season, because I don't really care about the playoffs. Like that has no factor in fantasy football. You know, during the course of the regular season, I think it's going to be just fine. It's not going to be the MVP type numbers every single year for Lamar Jackson. Those numbers will decrease some, but it's going to be because the defenses are keying on him, which will open up running lanes for J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, and I mean, you can only with his frame, you can only have a running quarterback be a running quarterback for so long before it takes a toll on them, and then they no longer help your football team. So they have to protect Lamar Jackson. It's easy to do that when you're 22 years old, but when you start to get at 25, 26 years old, they're going to be dumping that ball off and doing some screens to J.K. Dobbins, or just making sure J.K. Dobbins gets his carries. So, of course, anytime you study a team long enough, definitely within the division, you're going to figure out how to stop that specific player or scheme. So, we'll see how long it can go for.
What's the ceiling of receptions you guys see?
Ceiling?
Or what are you guys anticipating
50,
for receptions?
50 would be ceiling. 40 would be what I expect.
Okay. So it's lower than what I thought you guys would say.
I mean, he's only like in college, he's catching about 25 balls per year. And I could definitely see him being used more than that in the NFL. I think, obviously. So 40 sounds pretty reasonable.
And definitely with the receiving core right now, it's not like they have tons of offensive weapons out there, and that's even Lamar Jackson's game. Like he wants everything short and underneath for him as well. So I think if they can utilize J.K. Dobbins' strength, which is him in space, to get him out in space and get the ball in his hands, I think it's just a great thing for J.K. Dobbins' fantasy value, and actually the Ravens as well, and just another different way to protect Lamar Jackson.
Right. But I mean, that's why they drafted Justice Hill too, though. So I'm just poking holes in this like perfect offense where it's like they haven't utilized a running back to catch a ton of balls or to get 250 carries yet in this offense. Now, again, that's a 1 year sample size, but I just don't know what they envision. Could they evolve it? Sure.
I think what they envision, Nick, is kind of like what we thought they envisioned when they took Justice Hill. Like we kind of liked at Dynasty Nerds them taking Justice Hill because we thought they were looking to go speed and open everything up wide. And it's more of an indication on Justice Hill not performing, which is why they went the route of J.K. Dobbins, because Justice Hill wasn't giving them what they wanted and they envisioned in offense. So that's where they went to. They went to J.K. Dobbins thinking, okay, J.K. Dobbins, we get the ball with him in space. With the way he can get north and south, east and west on a dime like that, and his lateral agility is something we're looking for in this offense. We see it with Marquise Brown. We see it with Lamar Jackson. So I think it's a pretty good fit. Even in Devin Duvernay, the guy they just drafted. Devin Duvernay is kind of like a Deebo Samuel-esque kind of receiver. Speed, get the ball in his hands. He turns into a running back. It'd be efficient. I look at this offense, I see Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Marquise Brown, and Devin Duvernay. I see speed and guys that could make things happen with the ball in their hands.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It just takes that 1/2 a second of hesitation on the defensive player's part. If they're just taking their eyes off the running back for 1/2 a second to look to see if it's the quarterback that's going to take the ball, and then J.K. Dobbins, that's all he needs, you know what I mean, in order to make what would be a 2 or 3 yard grinded out play into a big chunk play. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference I see.
I mean, if they evolve it the way you're talking, Rich, to where it's more of like they hit up both sides of the tackle and they're trying to hit outside with speed, I can see it a little bit more. What I have seen is like almost like a dive or like a midline where it's Gus Edwards, it's Mark Ingram, and they're kind of hitting the center of the defense when everyone else is worried about Jackson going outside. I don't think that's Dobbins' forte, but I mean, I can see him being solid. I just don't know that I see him as a top 5 back.
Well, here's the thing. We're assuming that J.K. Dobbins is an upgrade on Mark Ingram, right? And Mark Ingram was running back 11 last year. Like that's got to be Dobbins' floor.
5 yards to carry, 10 touchdowns. Those are some high numbers to efficiency wise, right? To maintain.
Right, but I'm saying like he's a superior athlete. Even when they were coming out, he would be a superior athlete to Mark Ingram. He's never been a physical specimen by any means. And 30-year-old Mark Ingram, like he's definitely an upgrade there.
Right.
It comes down to fantasy potential, and J.K. Dobbins will get 2,000 yards for Ohio State in that same kind of offensive system. I'm really excited to see it. Again, we're splitting hairs because all 4 of these running backs are great. Just you have to rank them, right? You have to take one or the other. So we can say we have the same argument.
Someone had to take the other side of this Ohio State love fest, okay?